Hello, my name is Jess Graff, and I'm a mixed media artist. What that means is that I like to make artwork using all sorts of different kinds of materials. But no matter what kinds of materials I'm using, I love to take inspiration from nature. So today, we'll be having a chance to look at some of my favorite creatures, do some observational drawings, find those beautiful details, and create some really lovely finished artwork. So the first thing you should do is take a moment and find some paper, find some pencils or other drawing utensils, and something like an eraser so you can try things over if they don't work out the first time. So go ahead, take a look around for those things, and I'll see you back here in just a couple minutes. All right, I hope you've had a chance to find a pencil and some paper and an eraser. Today we're going to start out by drawing this butterfly. When I start a drawing, I usually take a look at the shapes that I can find. So if I'm looking at something like this butterfly, I can look at the shapes in the butterfly's body, I can look at the shapes of the wings, and start my drawing by sketching really lightly. So drawing really lightly. And what that does is it makes it a lot easier for us to erase any lines that aren't where we want them to be, and to keep adding to our drawing as we go. So take a look, pause the video, observe this butterfly, and start drawing it out. Remember to be kind to yourself as you're drawing it. It's okay for things to not work out the first time. How's your drawing going? I've started to map out some of the shapes that I can see in the wings. Again, I'm looking at things from a little bit of a different angle than you're looking at, so mine might look a little bit different from yours. I can also notice that if I'm looking at my drawing, I might realize that I made this part of the wing longer than I wanted it to, or I could choose to leave it. It's up to you. You are the artist, so you get to make the choices on your drawing. What we're really looking for is to find those shapes and do the best we can. Another thing I wanted to point out about this butterfly is the edges of that lower wing, that back wing. So take a look and see how many of those almost drip type shapes can you find on the wing that you're looking at. See if you can add some of those details to your drawings. I also really like to do what's called cross-hatching. Cross-hatching is where you make some little lines. You can make it one way, you can make it the other way. And that's going to make some darker areas of your drawing. You might decide you like that as a way to map out which areas are darker, or you might decide to just leave yours blank and add color later on. It's up to you because you're the artist. So keep drawing, keep finding those details that you can, and we'll keep working on this together. I've continued to make adjustments to my butterfly. I've shortened this area. I've looked for other details on the wing as well. This butterfly that we've been looking at is the Papilio ulysses. That's Papilioulysses. It's also often called a Ulysses butterfly or a blue emperor butterfly. As is true with many butterflies, the front and back sides look different. So this is the opposite side of the butterfly. If you'd like, you can pause the video and go ahead and draw this butterfly as well. Now I'll put a couple of other creatures on the screen as well and talk about those. Now, using the same skills you've been using on that first butterfly, take a look at these two creatures. While they might initially look like butterflies, they are actually both day moths. So as you're looking at these and drawing these creatures, see if you can notice some similarities and differences, both between each of these moths and between these moths and that butterfly that you were looking at to begin with. Take your time, really draw out those details. Take a second look if you need to really understand the shapes that you can find in those moths and compare them to the butterfly that you were just looking at. After working on your drawing for a while, you might decide that you're ready to add color. There's a lot of different things you can use, and you're welcome to use any kinds of art materials that you have available to you. I'll show you a couple that I like to use, and also give you a couple options to get creative with. One of my favorite materials to use is a black pen. That's really great for drawing on the lines that you've already drawn, so tracing those things out. If you're interested in doing that, all you need to do is just go nice and slowly, tracing those lines that you've already drawn. This takes some time, so you'll have to be patient with it. Going nice and slowly right over those lines. This is a great technique if you're interested in adding something like watercolor or another material that might make those pencil lines disappear. So if you're interested in that, you can take some time now to trace over your lines so that you'll be ready to add watercolors or something else. When you feel like you're ready to add color to your drawings, there's a lot of things that you can try and a lot of choices you can make. You could use traditional art materials, things like paints or markers or colored pencils that you might have on hand. You can also try some other materials as well. I'll show you a couple of things that I like to use, and then you can try your own and see what works for you. So one of the materials that I really enjoy using is a watercolor that comes in a tube like this. If you want to use something like this, all you need to do is get a palette and make just a tiny drop. So I just squeezed this out on my palette, just the tiniest drop. You see how little paint that is? Then all you need to do is find your paintbrush, get a little water, get a little bit of water on your paintbrush, and lightly touch it to the edge of your paint. Notice that I'm not stirring it all around. I'm just going ahead and getting a little bit of paint there. It's a good idea if you're working with a material you haven't tried before that you first test it on another piece of paper. So I might test it here and see what it's going to do. The more water you have, the lighter your paint is going to be, and the less water you have, the darker it's going to be. So if I have less water, I can get a darker color. If I've got more water and less paint, I'm going to get a lighter color. Can you see how that worked? So you can get a lot of shading, a lot of texture by changing the amount of water that is in with your paint. Another material that you can try out is food coloring. So I have this kind of food coloring here that comes in a tube, but if you have food coloring that comes in a dropper, that works just as well. If you'd like to try that, same idea. You just make a tiny little drop, get your paintbrush, dip your paintbrush in the water, and get a little bit on your brush. Same thing again. Testing it is a great idea. Less water is darker, more water is lighter. So here's a little bit more water. We can get kind of a light color here. And if we want to try a darker color, we can get more of that paint or that food coloring, and we'll get a darker color of that blue, a darker shade of that blue. I also sometimes use waterproof eyeliner. Now this might seem like a strange material to use to try something that's makeup, but it works pretty well. If you want to try something like this, you definitely want to first try it on the side or on another piece of paper just to get a feel of how it works and see what kinds of textures you can get. I could also use something like a lipstick. So this is a black lipstick that I have. And you see how I can color a lot of area with that if I wanted to. So you have a lot of different options. See what's around you. See what you can experiment with and explore to add color and detail and depth to your drawings. I hope you enjoyed this process of drawing and painting the butterfly and moths. I hope that you learned something too about observing, about studying things, and creating detailed drawings of those. I hope that you have a lot of ideas that you can take forward with you as well. Look around you, see what else you could draw. Make sure you write down any questions you have about these things or any observations that you notice as well. Keep drawing, keep learning, keep studying, and be kind to the world around you.